Howdy everybody, I'm Taz Thornton. I'm sitting in my garden. I'm not sure how wonderful the reception is going to be, but we'll do our best. I'm coming on here to tell you why I've been AWOL for a couple of weeks. Some 20 days ago now, in the evening, it was a Thursday evening, I started to feel a little bit ill. And I brushed it off. I thought it's hay fever, it's just a cold, of course, as we would. And then it got on to the Friday, and by the Friday morning, I was feeling quite ill again. And panic started to set in now because that weekend, from the Friday afternoon onwards, I was due to be running a 3-day spiritual empowerment retreat as part of my Big One program. And also on the Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I was finally going to be getting to run my Heart of Speaking speaker training retreat, which had been postponed due to lockdown since March 2020. It had been postponed like 3 times with lockdown. And so I did a lateral flow test, and it came back positive, and my heart sank. I convinced myself that it was because I'd had a vitamin C drink that morning. You know, I'd seen stuff in the media about kids using fruit shoots to create a false positive and get some time out of school. I thought it's going to be that. So I waited an hour, and then I did another one, and that came back positive as well. And so, as you can imagine, we then went into action mode, and we postponed the weekend's retreat. Luckily, my clients, I swear, are among the best clients in the world, and they were all so understanding. And then I forked out 185 quid to get a rapid PCR test result, which would be back by midnight. And I thought, please be negative, because if you're not negative, I'm going to have to isolate for 10 days, which means, ironically, just as we're unlocking and about to run my speaker training retreat, I'm going to have to postpone it because I've got COVID. And the test results came back positive. And so we had to postpone that as well. And again, massive shout out to my clients, the best clients in the world. And I gradually got worse and worse after that. Now, some of you may or may not know that I've been asthmatic since I was about 13, 14. I had pneumonia, and then asthma developed as a result of that. And I have hay fever as well. And from a really severe bout of chest infection some years back, one of my lungs only works at a third of capacity. So you can imagine some of the thoughts going through my head with some of the stuff that I've read in the media. And for the record, no, I'm not vaccinated, and no, I'm not an anti-vaxxer either. That's another conversation for another day. It's probably one for me and my close friends, actually. But of course, there was a little bit of fear going on there. I got worse and worse. This is day 20, and I'm just going back to work today on light duties. I've had one phone call today with a speaker agency who wanted to sign me. And I've got one coaching client this afternoon at 4, and the rest of this week I'll be taking it really gently. To give you an idea, through the entire week, I have 4 coaching clients this week. Now, bearing in mind that I normally serve between 3 and sometimes even 5 coaching clients a day, that's light duties. Yes, I've got meditation and drumming to run this Wednesday. I've got a single day workshop to run on Saturday, and I've got 2 clubhouse rooms to run. But other than that, it's easy, gentle duties for me this week. So throughout the process, thank you, Ellie, throughout the process, I kept, when I was feeling up to it, a daily COVID diary. And I did this in a closed Facebook group I run called Taz Thornton's Inspiration Tribe. It's a really clean space. We don't do any selling or pitching. Of course, I'll tell people if I've got something coming up they might be interested in, but it's not one of these post a positive meme or post an event and disappear. It's a really clean, positive space for people who want to inspire and be inspired. And so, good to see you too, Kay. Thank you. No, Simon, I covered that a little bit earlier. No, I am not jabbed. Interesting point, though, that now I have had COVID and can prove it with the positive PCR test, I'm actually eligible for one of the government's NHS passes now. So you can get those not only if you've been double jabbed, but also if you have had a confirmed positive COVID test, and that lasts for something like 18 months, because of course I now have antibodies. Anyway, another discussion for another day. So what happened through the process, I kept the diary in Inspiration Tribe because I felt it was so important, because as a former journalist, I'm still a journalist in my blood, really. I guess. I still write regularly. I'm a columnist for a couple of different places, and of course I write my books. I felt it was really important to get some from the horse's mouth balance, because of course all we're seeing in the media is the scariest cases, and of course that's going to happen. It's the way the media works. So I felt it was really important to give people a step-by-step account. And one of the things we've realised through this, because Asha got it as well, is that it's different for everyone. So Asha's symptoms were quite different to mine. I was expecting to feel like I was drowning and I couldn't get a breath in. That didn't happen. I did get a pulse oximeter, and about halfway through, actually last Sunday, would have been last Sunday, my blood oxygen levels really plummeted. At one point they went right down to 87%, and I had lots of people telling me that I should be in ICU. I didn't. I chose to work with an excellent homeopath throughout, Ellen Cook. Look her up. She absolutely has been a lifesaver through this. And at all times she was asking how I felt, checking in with me. We both knew on that Sunday, excuse me, that it was borderline about whether I needed to go into hospital. As it was, we treated it with some homeopathic medication and with my mindset, and we did everything we could. And I knew, for someone who's been asthmatic since the age of 13, I know my body well enough to know when I'm struggling. And I was determined to stay out of hospital, not take a Bedifo, and not become one of those statistics if I could possibly help it. And luckily, by the next day, it seemed that was the lowest point. Thank you, Lynn. That was the lowest point. And by the next day, my blood oxygen levels started to come back up again. And they are now normal, bottom end of normal, but normal. And on, what was it, yesterday, Ash and I both took lateral flow tests and they were negative again. So what actually happened for me through this? Well, one of the worst symptoms early on, and I know this isn't spoken about a lot in the media, is my skin was so hypersensitive. It was ridiculously painful. I could barely stand to have even a light sheet across my legs. That lasted for quite a long time. That was absolutely hideous. There was a really awful headache. The cough developed over time. It wasn't a dry cough for me. It was quite a productive cough. And my homeopath and I took that as a good sign that things were coming up and out. Yeah, absolutely, Asha, completely agree. So it wasn't a dry cough, as so many people have reported. It was quite a productive cough. What else? Headache. I did have quite a snotty nose with it again, which points to the Delta variant. The early variants weren't particularly snotty, as I recall. I didn't actually fit this. This might sound like a bit of a contradiction in terms, although my blood oxygen levels fell. As an asthmatic, as someone who's had pneumonia and asthma for years and years and years, and has grown up kind of being used to managing my breathing, I never felt that I was actually struggling for breath. I never felt that I couldn't get enough air in. There was one point on that Sunday where I couldn't quite breathe deeply enough, but I never felt that I was struggling for breath. So that was really quite interesting. Tiredness, Asha's saying deep muscle pain as well. Yeah, that was awful. Deep muscle pains for me, particularly across my back. After that, then we developed an upset tummy as well. I didn't vomit. It was, well, let's just say I didn't vomit. You can leave the rest to your imagination. Appetite went. The smell and taste disappeared for me in the first week, but it only went for about 4 days. Now, interestingly, when my smell and my taste disappeared, I could still taste some things. There was about a week where I had the most foul taste at the back of my mouth and throat. And even when I taste food, I could always taste that digestion all the way down, burning. And that was really, really horrible as well. Asha's smell and taste hasn't quite come back yet. Mine has. But here's an interesting thing. I'm pretty sure my taste's about 95% back now, but things taste very different. So I drink a lot of whole earth coffee alternative. I can't do caffeine. And I love it. It's like my comfort drug drink. It's a comfort drink for me. It's like a hug in a mug. That's where the drug came from, drink and mug combined. And I tried the first one of those a couple of days back, and it just didn't taste the way I remember it tasting. Sorry if I'm creaking. I'm sitting on a garden swing. It's the swing creaking. So that's been really interesting. And I tried eating a protein bar the other day. I'm not feeling like I want to have breakfast at the minute, so I'm going to grab a protein bar, which I usually eat every day when I'm going to the gym, and I like the taste. And I just didn't enjoy it anymore. It tastes completely different. My taste buds, since they've come back, are just different. Ash is saying there's another point there. Ash and I have both been vegan for a number of years, and we were both craving meat, particularly chicken. We didn't have any, but we were getting these cravings. And when we were looking into that, I think that's a childhood anchor. So I don't know about you guys, but when I was poorly, I was quite a sickly kid. And when I was poorly as a child, it was a case of chicken and rice, chicken noodles, even sometimes a chicken and mushroom pot noodle, but there was always chicken in there somewhere. So I do wonder if that's a kind of childhood anchor to feeling poorly. But anyway, I gradually got better. The cough now is intermittent. I'm still trying to sleep sitting up. If I try and sleep lying down. Last night, actually, sorry, there's a plane or a helicopter going over. Last night was the first time I actually went to bed for 19 nights. Just let this plane go over. The joys of living in Lincolnshire, where there are RAF bases pretty much all around. We both spent the first 19 nights of this sleeping downstairs on the settee, just because we've got recliners so we could sit up. And last night was the first night we actually went to bed, and I had not a very good night's sleep at all, because of course every time I tried to lay down, I started coughing again, so I managed to prop myself up. Thank you, Ellen. This is the Ellen we were talking about. People, give her a follow, find her on social. She is amazing. Now, interestingly, interesting for me, on the Monday after I'd had the really bad Sunday, and so many people were saying, go to hospital, call 111. Not in that voice, that was my voice. I called my GP and explained to him what was going on. I didn't lie to him about anything. I gave it him straight. And he said that he sounded as though I was coming out of the other side of it. There were no drugs I could take. Now, whenever I've had severe chest infections in the past, I've frequently been put onto steroids. And my GP on this occasion said that he couldn't put me onto steroids to help get rid of the last little bit, because apparently steroids can push your immune system down, and they needed my immune system to be up to fight the last bit of COVID. And as someone with the level of asthma I've had in the past, I would need to be on 35 to 50 as a dose, and the most to be able to give me was 20 without it damaging my immune system. So my doctor's advice was actually just to keep going, take paracetamol and ibuprofen, and let him know if it got any worse. Now, luckily, it didn't get any worse. Now, I want to touch on another couple of points as well, and I want to make it absolutely abundantly clear that this was my experience, and this does not in any way, shape or form take away from anyone else's experience. I know people have lost loved ones through this. We've lost family members through this. I know lots of people have been hospitalised through this, but I want to make it clear that it's not as scary as the media portrays for everyone. There were some scary moments, but I didn't feel like I was going to die. I didn't feel like I needed to go into hospital. So I want to make that really, really, really clear. It's not going to be a terrifying death sentence for everyone. It just isn't. Yes, for some, unfortunately, this is a hideous illness and it's taken lives. But if I look back through my life, I've been worse. Even at the point where I was talking to Ellen, and we thought we thought at one point that I'd developed secondary pneumonia from it. But it went. So I want to tell you that if you think you might have COVID, yes, of course, get advice. Yes, be sensible. Yes, recognise that it's going to be different for everybody. But also recognise that the stuff in the media is always going to be the worst case scenario. So speak to a trusted medic. I can't even see what I'm putting up on the screen now because my son's in the way, so I'm sorry. I'll catch up on that later. I will come back and catch up on the comments later. But just remember, you know, I used to be a journalist. I'm still a journalist in my blood. The stuff you're going to see in the media is always going to be the worst case scenario. That's what they still believe sells newspapers. There are going to be thousands, millions of people who've had COVID, who've had it quite lightly. Asher had a lighter dose than I did, or who, you know, the guy I caught it from had a bit of a cough and cold for about 4 days and then he was okay again. So it's different for everyone. It's not always going to mean a death sentence, but you need to pace yourself. You need to take medical advice. You need to speak to trusted advisors. And above all, you need to try if you can and not panic. I'm sure if I'd panicked more, I would have ended up in hospital. So how am I now? My energy levels are still quite low. I really am going to have to pace myself these next couple of weeks. I can't even see what the comments are. I'm tapping onto the screen now because the sun's in my phone. That I'm definitely going to have to pace it. I'm wanting to sleep a lot. On Saturday night through to Sunday, we both slept for 11 hours. You know, I've slept so much with this. So you're going to have to take it at your own pace. Trust that if you've got good clients, they'll understand. And just make sure that you are managing it with expert advice, with medical advice, but you're managing what's actually going on with you, not what you've read in the media. And when I talk about the panic and the fear, honestly, Asher and I were talking about the mind virus caused by this. So much of it for us had to do with mindset. And I know I caught some flack from some people in Inspiration Tribe who were saying that you don't need positive thoughts, you need a hospital, you need oxygen. Actually, I'm a big believer in positive thoughts having a lot to do with recovery. There's all kinds of studies out there that talk about the importance of mindset in wellness and recovery from illness. So please bear that in mind. It's not about saying all I need is some positive thoughts. Of course, I didn't just need positive thoughts. I needed a lot of homeopathic care. I needed a lot of paracetamol. I had some cocodamol at some point. I had some ibuprofen. I had a lot of, having to bring my temperature down. That's all important. And one final point I'll just touch on before I disappear, because I do have a client not too far away from this, is blood pulse oximeters. Those little tools you clip on your finger, you can get them for anywhere between £5 and 20 quid on Amazon. That was really, really important to monitor what was going on with my oxygen levels. But honestly, and I'm not recommending you do this at all, I'm just telling you something that happened for me. One of the most liberating moments for me towards the end of this, once we'd started to get my blood oxygen back up, was putting that little machine back in its pouch and throwing it across the room. Because I was getting to the point where, rather than tuning in with how I was feeling, what my energy was like, what my body was like, what my health was like, I was getting obsessed with the numbers on that little pulse oximeter. And that was making me worse. So for the past, once we made sure that I was coming back into safe levels, I checked it maybe once a day. And for the past couple of days, I didn't check it at all. I checked it again yesterday, which is how I know it was coming back up. Now, for some of you, you might think that's reckless. So again, I'm saying this has got to be your choice. But if you're going to use something like that, they're really, really useful. You do need to know what's going on inside your body. But please make sure that you are not just becoming obsessed with the numbers. Please make sure, there's a butterfly, please make sure that you are also paying attention to the way you actually physically feel, what your energy levels are like, what your mindset's like. It's not just about the numbers in this. One quick tip as well. Big thanks to Joe Siriani from Spaghetti Agency, who recommended I get a steam inhaler on the worst days. Really cheap piece of kit. I think it was about a tenner. It wasn't one of these posh plug-in ones. It was just kind of a 2-piece plastic piece of equipment. There's a reservoir that you put hot water into, and then you put the top piece on and the steam comes up and you just inhale the steam. On the bad days, that really, really made things easier for me. So invest in one of those as well. You know, I think it was about a tenner from Amazon. So pulse oximeter machine, useful, but don't get obsessive over the numbers. Temperature gun, of course, taking that. My temperature was over 100 at one point. Make sure that just to monitor your SATs, work with someone who knows what they're doing on that, and to ease your breathing, a steam inhaler helped me no end. So that's where I am. Slowly but surely now, baby steps back in. It hasn't been easy. It's really kicked my backside. But it wasn't as scary as I feared it might be. And again, it's different for all of us. Please, please, please know that this is my experience. I'm not taking away from anyone else's experience or trying to say that this isn't real. Of course it's real. And anyone who says it isn't, believe me, I've had flu, I've had pneumonia. This is not the same thing by any way, shape or form. And I know that it's going to take me a little bit of time to get back into the gym and get back into my exercise. But I'm through it. I'm now negative, but with a positive mindset. That's been my experience. So to all my clients, thank you so much for bearing with me. To everyone who sent good vibes and good thoughts and healing energy, thank you so much. I swear all the positive vibes and the people pulling for me really helped me to get through this. To my homeopath, Ellen, thank you so much. I can never thank you enough. To Asha, who we went through this together, thank you. I love you. You're amazing. To my GP, thank you for calming me down. And just to everyone out there, this journey is going to be different for everyone. It's not a specific tick list. There are symptoms I got through this that I wasn't expecting. There are other symptoms I was expecting to get that didn't materialise. So I'll leave it there. Thank you for listening. I hope this has been helpful. That's why I haven't been around for a couple of weeks, but I will be back from now. And the sun's on this so bright I can't even see where to end the broadcast. So I'll see you all soon. Take care.